Hello, if you are watching this video, it means that it is week 3 and you somehow missed one of our synchronous days or, you were gone, had an appointment, something like that. So this is week 3. We are starting after doing a growth mindset week for week 2. We are starting with a mini unit on short stories. So our schedule for this week is Google Slides week 3, which is what you're viewing. And then our asynchronous activity is a POV photo walk. And I will explain that in just a little bit as to what that is. But first, I want to show you your responses to the survey that you filled out for me. I think it's just interesting, and so I want to show you. This is for all of my class periods, so it's about, I'd say 80, 100 students. 83 responses is what I got. But so it looks like for the majority, fiction, nonfiction, we're fans of both. I have a small portion that really love nonfiction, and then 32% of you say that you like fiction only, and then there's a very, very tiny percentage that forgot what the difference is, and I get that. It was a long time where I didn't remember what the difference was between fiction and nonfiction. But fiction is stories that are created, they're not real. Nonfiction is real life true stories. So this is interesting to me because this is going to help with understanding what types of stories you'll be interested in. Mystery seems to lead the pack with 74% of you are interested in mystery. So you can see fantasy and comedy and history are kind of right up there. And then sci-fi. So this is interesting. I'm going to do my best to really pull from the majority of what people are interested in and try to use text that I think you'll like. And then this, I'm not going to explain it, but this is just, it's connected. Movies, TV shows, that's connected to the things that we love to entertain ourselves with. So no surprise, action, adventure, comedy, thriller. Okay. So this I think is important to show you. So I asked the question, how do you view yourself as a reader? And no doubt there's going to be a portion of people that say reading is boring. I am not a reader. I don't do it for fun. That's not my thing. And I get that. That's totally valid. 27% of you say that you truly do love reading on your own. You do it outside of school. That's a hobby of yours. And then there's a large portion that you don't mind, but you just don't know what you like and you don't know what you would read, what would be a good book for you. So that's my job. That's what I'm going to try to do, is to show you things that I think you'll be interested in. And I want to comment on 2 things that kept coming up in the survey that I read, survey responses. So I had an overwhelming amount of people tell me, I don't like to read books that are not interesting to me. And my response to that is, me too. This is normal. You are not going to love every book that you read. So, of course, there are books in school that are going to be assigned to you, and you just, for whatever reason, won't like it. It's either going to be something that's just never been an interesting topic to you, or maybe it's the writing itself that's boring. And that's fine. I want to express to you that it's not abnormal that you would not love every single thing you read. I don't love every single thing I read. There are some books that I get to the end and I just would never read that again. But we're going to do our best together to work together to find books that you want to read and that you would read again, even. Shocking, I know. The other thing is this phrase, I'm not a reader. And I really hope that you hear me with this. I get that, and I will never try to force you to be something you're not. I don't want to be a teacher that says, well, too bad, you're going to be a reader in my class. I don't want to be like that, because I know that there are just things that are not part of our personalities, and I would never want you to be something that you're not. But I am an English teacher, and I enjoy reading, and reading is really cool. So I'm going to do all that I can to convince you and to show you how awesome it is, but just know that I acknowledge if it's not something that you gravitate toward on your own. So remember, growth mindset, we're going to be open to growing and changing and learning. And I think hopefully what I have in store for you might help change your mind. So, there are three things that I want to show you that are going to be part of this class, part of Canvas, things that I hope will help you with figuring out what you want to read. The first is this website. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. So, our school library, I've linked it here in the slides. Our school library has a section on our website. So if you open this up, it'll take you to the portion of the library with all of our ebooks and audiobooks. And there's a lot. So you can scroll through, you can search if you have a specific one in mind that you want to read. There's a whole lot in here. This one's really good. I just read that not long ago. So, like, let's say I want to check this book out. I click on it. It looks like there is a copy available, so I just hit checkout, and then I'm not sure from there what you do. I'm sure you have to put in your student ID or something like that. But this is really cool, and it's easy. It's an ebook, audiobooks. Audiobooks are awesome. I listen to audiobooks all the time. So there's that. Let me go back. Okay, so audiobooks, ebooks, you have access to them even though we are not on campus still. And then this is something that I am going to include in our class time on a weekly basis because I think it's important and it's fun. So I am using a routine now called First Chapter Fridays. And I know that some of you don't actually have synchronous class on Friday, my Tuesday, Thursday cohort. So for you, it'll be First Chapter Thursdays. But the idea behind this is that I am going to either show a book trailer, book talk, or read the first chapter of a book with you so that you can kind of get a taste for it and see if it's something that you might want to read. And it'll open your eyes to other genres too. So lastly, you should know that your English teacher, Mrs. Albritton, reads. I read all the time. I'm currently in the middle of I think 11 books. I start a lot and then it takes me a while to get through them, obviously, because I'm reading so many. But I have something on Canvas that I'll show you. It's a page that I made to show you what I'm reading so that you can kind of see what I'm up to and ask for my recommendations. So let me show you that. So if you go into Canvas and you go under the resources module at the top, you'll see this, what is Mrs. Albritton reading? And when you pull it up, it's just going to show you the pictures and the names. So right now, this is not all I'm reading, but this is 3 of them. I am reading Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. I think I'm about 70 pages into this one. It's pretty good. I don't know if I mentioned I'm a new Star Wars fan, so I thought I'd give their books a shot. I'm also in the middle of reading Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This is a autobiography memoir book, and it's very good. And then this one I'm actually listening on Audible as an audiobook, Anxious People by Frederick Backman. He wrote a book called A Man Called Ove that I love. It's one of my favorite books, and so this is my second book by him that I'm reading. And then I also want to show you this. I have something called Goodreads. This is a website. It's an account that you can make, and it'll help you keep track of books that you want to read, books that you haven't read before. So you can even go beyond just what's on Canvas, and you can see everything that I'm reading, everything that I've just finished reading, things that I want to read. So it's a pretty cool website. It's linked in the slides, and it's on Canvas as well. So I hope that is helpful for you to see. Okay, so now let's talk about short stories. This is our first unit. I'm really excited about it. I think we're going to have fun talking about some of the things that I have to bring up. So my question to you, as you are sitting watching this video, I want you to think, what is the purpose that short stories serve? Why do they exist? Why does it matter? Why am I teaching this to you? So think about that for a moment. And then I have a quote to show you. With a well told story, we can help a person see things in an entirely new way. We can forge new relationships, strengthen the ones we already have. We can change a law, inspire a movement, make people care fiercely about things they'd never given a passing thought. So, short stories are a form of narrative writing, and I would say that, well, okay. There's a possibility that there is a short story out there that is nonfiction, meaning it's true events and true things. But I would say 99% of the time, a short story that you read is going to be fictional. And it's going to incorporate lots of creativity, and it'll make you think about a real life topic, an idea, in a way that you wouldn't have thought of before. And you'll see what I mean with some examples I'm going to share with you. So, we are going to read this story, Monster the Roller Coaster by BJ Novak. He wrote a whole book full of short stories. They're awesome, they're really funny, they're interesting, and we're going to look at one specifically. So, I want you to pause this video, click on the link here in the slides, and it's going to take you to the Google Doc version of his story. Read that for me. Just enjoy it for the first time reading it. I'm not asking you to do anything with it yet because we're going to do an activity with the story next week, but I just want you to be able to read it and enjoy it for what it is first. So go ahead and do that. Pause this video, read the story. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that story. It's really awesome, really funny. These are the standards and essential question, the learning target. This is what we're going to be doing for this mini unit. So you can take a look at that, read that. Now what I want you to do is pause this video, and in these boxes, you can edit them, there's a text box. I want you to tell me anything and everything that you know about these terms. What is a character? What is setting? Plot? Point of view? Style? Symbolism? Tone? Theme? Anything that you know, tell me. If you don't know, I don't want you to lie and just go to Google and copy and paste something. I want you to tell me, I don't know, or I don't remember, but I've heard of this term. I just want you to be honest with me. So go ahead, pause this video, and in each of these boxes, tell me anything that you know about these terms. All right, so this is going to help us with our second synchronous day. You are going to help me by brainstorming a list of your favorite stories and characters. This could be from books, movies, shows, comic books, video games. If there's a story, that counts. So I want you to, in this column, list your favorite characters, and then in this column, your favorite stories, like the name of the movie, the book, whatever. They don't have to be from the same. So if I put Anakin Skywalker over here, I don't have to put Star Wars. I mean, obviously, you probably will if you love the character, but they don't have to correlate, is what I'm saying. So you can see some examples I have. I have a mixture of books and movies and shows. So go ahead, do that quick brainstorm, and tell me in the slides your favorite characters and stories. All right, so you've done that. This is something that we're not using today in terms of synchronous day 1. We're using it synchronous day 2. So we're going to pause here. But I want to show your asynchronous activity. So this is called a POV photography walk, photo walk. And the whole goal of this assignment is to see how perspective and point of view changes what we see, feel, think about. So the goal, or the instructions, I should say, our topic is life. So you are going to either take a picture or find a picture that represents and symbolizes life to you specifically. So if you look at my tip down here, what does life mean to you personally? What is important in life? What is it like to experience it? What does it look like? This is all about your perspective and point of view. And then once you submit the picture, you're also going to attach a few sentences describing what's going on. Because if you send me a picture of a shoe on the sidewalk, I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's happening in this picture and what it means. So you're going to give me some description. So that is your asynchronous activity, and it is due Monday, February 22nd. Okay, synchronous day number 2. All right. So today we are going to look at the first half of our literary elements, things that you find in narrative writing, and in this case, short stories. So we're going to be looking at character, plot, setting, point of view, and perspective. But we are not simply going to go over basic definitions because you are familiar with these things. You know what they are. You've been taught them before. We're going to look at what makes a story a great story. Like how do we use literary elements in a way that makes the story engaging and captivating and something that you want to read or watch. So our first literary element I would say, is the most important, and that's character. So characters are obviously the people, living beings, the people in the story that's centered around them. And a character, I like to think of it as characters are the heart behind any story. As you can see, they drive the plot, influence theme, and is integral in conflict. If you don't have characters, you just don't have a story because um, there has to be somebody to focus on, somebody that is telling the story, and there's something going on with them. So um, this is a long quote, but I want to point your attention to the highlighted part. We must find them interesting, believable, and we must care about what happens. So when you're looking at a character, obviously characters can be very different from one another. You could have a character that's menacing and aggressive and sneaky and does lots of crime related activities, or you could have a character that's the complete opposite. They're super sweet, kind of like a gentle grandma. But no matter what the character's like, as long as they are interesting, believable, and you care about what happens to them, they're going to be a really good character. I'm sure you can think of stories where even the villain, there's like something about that villain and the way they describe them and show them that almost makes you care about them a little bit and care what happens to them, even though they're the bad guy. So, what does this mean exactly? How do we find characters that are interesting, believable, and we care? Well, this is the key. Characters have to be imperfect. They have to have faults and flaws because when they are, that's relatable. Human beings in real life, nobody is perfect. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We mess up. I mean, heck, we just learned all about growth mindset and how mistakes are part of learning. There's not a perfect human being on this planet. And so even if we're watching Star Wars or reading a book where there's dragons and magic and spells, things that are not real to our reality, as far away as that reality may be from our reality, if the character is flawed and believable and interesting, we're going to care about them and they're going to be really cool characters. So I want you to see this quote from Anne Lamott. Bad things happen to good characters because our actions have consequences and we do not behave perfectly all the time. So I want you to brainstorm for a moment, think of characters who remind you of this quote, and then I want you to type their names here. What's a really good character, good person, and yet something bad happens to them in the story? So this is kind of overall characters, what makes them awesome and interesting and engaging. But I want to show you now what are practical things that we can look for that help us understand a character better. So dialogue is super important. Being able to understand the way that a character speaks, the mannerisms they use, if they use slang words all the time, maybe they have an accent, maybe they stutter a lot, maybe they have limited vocabulary compared to other characters in the story. Dialogue is going to tell you a lot about the person. And then, of course, how do they look physically on the outside? What do they describe to look like? Is there some important feature? Do they have a scar that has a backstory behind it? Is there a reason that they're wearing the clothes that they're wearing? There's so much that goes into what they look like that'll be connected to who they are as a person. And then more inward, what are their habits, their interests, their beliefs, their dislikes? What are they passionate about? What is their personality traits like? And then lastly, how do they interact with other people? What are their relationships like with family and friends and romantic interests? How do they interact? What are their emotions there? So what I want you to do is to go through this list, and I have 2 character examples. If these are unfamiliar to you, think about a character that you are familiar with. And I want you to think about how you would describe or answer these questions for each of these characters. We have Anakin Skywalker, um, Star Wars, and then Ariel from The Little Mermaid. So go ahead and think about how would you answer these questions for these characters. All right, next is plot. And I would say that plot is the second most important feature in a short story, because even if you have characters but you have no plot, you still don't have a story, because there has to be something that's happening with the characters. That's the reason that you're telling the story. It's not just a day in the life type thing. So I want you to think about, and in your text box, tell me, what do you think is the most important part of a story's plot? We have exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. Tell me in your slides, what do you think is the most important? I hope you said climax, because indeed it's climax. Um, Climax is where conflict happens. I guarantee you, if you think about any story that you're familiar with, whether it be a movie, a book, a comic book, a video game, there's got to be some sort of problem, some sort of issue. It could be a giant quest or journey that the hero has to go through, or it could be maybe like a miscommunication between two best friends and that leads them to get in a fight. Whatever it is, there's got to be some sort of issue. And you'll see in a second why this is the most important part of the story. So, for one thing, the development of relationship creates plot. So, as characters are um, interacting with each other, maybe a character meets a new character and they create a friendship, that's going to move the story forward. And then, if you want to know what's at stake, what the problem might be, the conflict, if you can figure out what the character cares most about in the whole world, what's really important to them, you will find out what the potential problem is, because it's usually involved. Not always, but usually. And then, lastly, this last bullet point is going to really give you a good idea as to what I mean when I say conflict's the most important. If your character goes through conflict, some sort of climax, a problem, and they are not changed in any way on the other side of that, there was no point to that story because that does not mimic real life. If you go through and experience something, a big event, an issue, miscommunication, whatever it is, you are going to be a changed person on the other end of that, whether that be like a significant, huge change that really just alters everything in your life, or even if it's something really minor, like an addition in something you believe in or something. That's the whole thing about narrative writing and writing in general. It's going to be impactful and relatable when it mimics real life. So if your character goes through something and they are just the same person they were on this side, you kind of have a problem. So that's plot. Next is setting. There's nothing for you to respond to in your slides here, but I want you to think about this. There's kind of two things to look at. Big picture stuff, time period, weather, time of day, everything that would kind of set the backdrop to the story. And then there's little things. So some settings are going to be more detailed than others. Obviously, our picture here in the middle, there's a lot going on, and you could zoom in anywhere and kind of have an understanding that there's lots going on, and details will give away what's going on in the story. Other settings, not so much. So you kind of have to look at big picture and the details. And then we have point of view and perspective. This is going to be kind of the element that grounds us in our week, this week and next week. So point of view focuses on the type of narrator used to tell the story. Perspective focuses on how this narrator perceives it. So for example, you have to have a character that has a point of view. So who is telling the story? Who is the main character? And then with that main character, what is their perspective? How are they reacting to the events in the plot? How are they responding? What are their emotions, their thoughts? That is perspective. So if you had two characters go through the same experience together, but one of your characters is the main character. They're telling the story through their point of view. Their perspective is going to be different than the other character, even though they went through the same thing. So I want you to tell me, how would the story change if the point of view and perspective changed? So go ahead, take some time, write in your slides. Okay, we are going to end with a first chapter Friday or Thursday if you're in my Tuesday, Thursday cohort. So this is going to be a really fun one. This is a book trailer, actually. So there's this book. I'm showing you this one first because mystery was the number one genre that was of much interest to many of you. This book is called A Study in Charlotte. So this is kind of a twist on Sherlock Holmes type novel. It's a young adult novel, so it's the protagonists and antagonists are teenagers. So what you can do is watch this book trailer. Book trailers are really cool. I'm sure that some of this might be unfamiliar. Book trailers are when people take a book that's not a movie or a TV show and they make a trailer for it. So when you watch this, you might think, oh, where's this on Netflix? I've never seen this. It's not on Netflix, it's a book. So go ahead and watch this. Just so you know, there is one F word in this trailer. I really tried to find a way to get rid of it, but I couldn't. So be aware of that. There's just one minor incidence of language, but it's a really cool trailer and it'll give you an idea as to what this book is all about. So go ahead and watch that. All right, that is the end of week 3. If you have any questions, please let me know. But that is all I have for you. So I hope you have a great day.